Hi everybody, this is Dino from Prehistoric Facts. This is a Q&A episode, so let's actually get right to it, shall we? So, start with the YouTube questions. So, Luke Slachter, who would you got two face-off questions here? Is first one, who would win, Megaraptor or short-faced bear? Well, Megaraptor, even though it's bigger than the short-faced bear, I would still say the short-faced bear might actually have one advantage, and that would actually be a bigger brain, basically. The smarts, gets its mammal, and actually would be able to outsmart the Megaraptor in many ways. And like it's pretty much going to have the agility, and also it's actually going to have the biting power necessary to actually defeat the Megaraptor. And then who would win? And it's battle of the cave mammals here. So cave hyena, cave lion, or the cave bear. Of all of those three, the cave bear. Cave bear's way too big, and also it's going to be hard to tackle down, because first and foremost, I think the cave, because even though there is fossil evidence that a cave bear and a cave lion did actually have a little bit of combat towards each other. There's a cave, I believe, in France that actually has the evidence that shows that a cave lion and then a cave bear actually battled each other for basically territory, but I think also the cave lion was actually going to kill the cave bear's cub. And so that pretty much would actually show that was a female cave bear that was actually protecting its young. And so, yeah, I would actually go with the cave bear on all three of those. So the cave bear would actually win that. It's got the muscle mass and all that. And so if it was all in the cave bear is actually going to have the advantage. Even though that the lion and hyena would actually have basically the night vision. So because if you're in a cave, you can actually use your night vision to actually find out where your opponent is. A cave bear would probably still have the same thing. It's basically that the cave bear would actually know the terrain a little bit better in the cave than like either the cave lion or the cave hyena. All right, back to the Facebook questions. Benjamin from Hong Kong, does Torvosaurus have the largest skull of all Jurassic predatory dinosaurs? I think so, but I'm not totally sure. I believe it does have one of the larger skulls of all the Jurassic predatory dinosaurs. I'm just not totally sure. I could actually think that maybe Saurolophus might actually have the bit larger skull, but I'm not totally sure. So you got me stumped on that one. Saurolophus, the best known of all hadrosaurs? No. First and foremost, Saurolophus is an Asian hadrosaur, of course, found in Mongolia and China, and then there's some like cousins of Saurolophus in North America. But I would say the best known hadrosaurs are actually going to be like Edmontosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Lambeosaurus. You know, those types of hadrosaurs, because I think those are the more well famous and more well known hadrosaurs that are out there. And so even Maiasaura is also a very well known hadrosaur. So I would say Saurolophus would actually be in the conversation in terms of the top 10 best known hadrosaurs. But I'd say the top ones are, I think the top three are Edmontosaurus, Parasaurolophus, and Maiasaura. And so those would actually be the ones that I would actually say that are the most familiar with and most well known. And did Neovenator and Baryonyx ever compete with each other? I believe possibly, but not so. Because I think Neovenator would have its own prey. Would actually have its own prey to actually go after, like the iguanodontids. Because I think those would actually be the better prey sources for Neovenator. Baryonyx is mostly going to stay close to rivers and lakes, and even close to the shoreline a little bit more. So that way, it's actually going to go after fish. It's going to scavenge off of any dinosaurs that actually are close to the river. I think because since that there's one Baryonyx specimen that I did actually have juvenile iguanodon bones in its stomach contents, and so that would actually suggest it probably just scavenged off of a dead or otherwise a well-fed carcass of a juvenile iguanodonted, and so I think that's pretty much what that was. But mostly, I think Baryonyx is mostly going to stick with the fish and crustaceans, those types of things, but it'll still go after some dinosaurs. But I don't think they would ever compete against each other. I think Neovenator and Baryonyx actually would stick to their niches. Basically, Neovenator would actually be on land, mostly in drier areas where there's not that much water nearby, not much water to actually have to go compete against Baryonyx. But Baryonyx would actually just basically stick near the rivers, lakes, and the swampy areas, and even the shorelines. So I would say no, they probably would not compete against each other that much. And of course, if they ever did, which I say is no, but who would win in that battle, Baryonyx and Neovenator? That'll be pretty close. That's a toss-up. I think they're nearly the same size. It's just that I think probably land predators would actually have an advantage if the fight was on land and near like drier land. I would say that Neovenator would actually have the advantage, but if it was near like the river, lake, or a shoreline, Baryonyx would actually have the advantage in that. So it basically depends on the environment. And Jody from Kentucky, were some dinosaurs capable of cranial kinesis? That is a very good question. There might be some dinosaurs that are actually able to do that. Like, if you look at the books that actually talk about like how theropod dinosaur skulls are actually kind of designed, is that there's a joint in the lower jaw that would probably allow that jaw to expand. So could they actually have the ability to do cranial kinesis? Possibly, but it would be a very different way than like what snakes actually do. Because I don't think all these predatory dinosaurs dislocated their jaw whatsoever like snakes do. I would actually say that they probably just widen their jaws a bit more to actually like gulp down larger like mouthfuls of meat. Whereas like the herbivorous dinosaurs, they would not do that, because I think they would actually because their jawbones are pretty solid. Whereas the predatory dinosaurs, some predatory dinosaurs actually do have the flexibility in their lower jaws to be able to do that, to be able to expand their jaws, not necessarily dislocate the jaw. There was that scene in Clash of the Dinosaurs where Pete Larson is trying to give the idea that Tyrannosaurus Rex had the ability to do cranial kinesis, where it dislocates its jaw to actually swallow larger chunks of flesh and bone. Well, basically what that would say is that T-Rex would be able to dislocate its jaw. But from my understanding, it probably would not do that, because T-Rex is not like snakes or otherwise monitor lizards, because you do not see that happen. And so that pretty much actually says is that they're still going to have a stiff musculature on their, pretty much stronger musculature to actually be able to actually keep their jaws intact. But could T-Rex actually expand its jaws? Absolutely. There's ways for it to actually expand its jaws. But Allosaurus is the better example to actually see that it could actually expand its jaws to actually swallow huge chunks of flesh. And so that's why I think you should always actually look at like the illustrations of like of all the books that are out there, especially like the old school books that are like from like the 90s, early 2000s, that actually show that image of an Allosaurus expanding its jaws. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what you're going to get out of that me, is that there's some dinosaurs that could do it, but then there's other dinosaurs that cannot. And so yeah, the herbivores would not be able to do cranial kinesis. The theropods probably could. It's just basically it's a different type of cranial kinesis, not the way that snakes and monitor lizards do it. All right, that's it for now. Next week I would actually be doing 2 episodes this time. One's going to be an extra episode. The extra episode I will be talking about the latest paleontology discoveries that have been going on in the past month. And so I would actually give you guys a little bit of info of what those discoveries actually mean, and what could actually be the case for possibly what the 2020 is actually going to look like for paleontology, which I think it could possibly be pretty interesting. And so check that out. That'll probably be early in the week, so probably sometime like either Tuesday or Wednesday. That would actually be the extra episode, the special episode. We'll be talking about Stegosaurus, the pachycephalosaur. And so you should check that out sometime probably like on Thursday or Friday. And so you should actually check that out when those episodes actually get to come out. And but you can still send me questions about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life by emailing me at dinochrist71@gmail.com. Or just go to my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you actually post your questions on the wall or in the comment section. And for YouTubers out there, feel free to put your questions in the comment section. And I do read them all, but make sure you leave at least 2 to 3 questions in one comment, because if you give me like 2 to 3 questions a time that you comment, I can't read them all, and I actually will have to choose which ones I actually can answer for you on video. And so yeah, so just make sure you put at least 2 to 3 questions in one comment, and so that way I can read them all. So I can read them, and that way those questions can be answered. And also feel free to give the videos a like, and that helps me out. And also subscribe, and also hit that bell to actually get the notifications. Know when those episodes come out, and that way you can actually keep up to date with everything I actually do for the channel. And also you can also follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. That's my Twitter page. I post pretty cool stuff on there. And also for the questions, keep them short. Keep your questions short and to the point. And also take care of the people around you. And also for your younger people out there, to make sure you listen. Your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. It's the best motivation you could have. A good education. It's very important to have a good education. With a good education, you get a good job in the future. All right, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.